The pilot had already survived the damaged engine. He had already survived getting the P-38 back through Pacific sky full of fire. And then, just a few feet from safety, he almost burned to death inside his own cockpit. That was the moment Eddie Raines stopped thinking like a mechanic, because standing on that muddy New Guinea airstrip, staring at a living man trapped under a jammed canopy while smoke poured out behind him, Raines realized something terrifying. In war, surviving the crash means nothing if the airplane won't let you out. The P-38 had come in fast, wrong and ugly. One wheel hit hard, the second buckled. The twin boom fighter slewed sideways across the strip, throwing mud and coral dust as ground crews sprinted toward it before it had even stopped moving. For 1 second it looked like the pilot might have pulled off a miracle. For the next 10 seconds it looked like he was going to die anyway. The canopy had jammed. The pilot inside was slamming both fists against the glass. Another mechanic shouted for a pry bar. Someone else yelled for an axe. Men slipped in the mud, grabbed at the frame, cursed, pulled, shoved, and failed. And through the smoke and shouting, Eddie Raines heard the one sound he would never forget. A pilot pounding on the inside of his own airplane like it had turned into a coffin around him. They dragged him out in time. Barely, but Raines never got over what he had seen. Because the part that haunted him wasn't the fire. It wasn't the screaming. It was the thought that came afterward. What if that same crash had happened out in the jungle? What if it happened in swamp, kunai grass, or near a Japanese patrol trail? No fire crew, no mechanics, no pry bar, no second chance. That pilot would have survived the mission, only to die trapped inside the machine that brought him home. And that was the day a ground mechanic started inventing one of the nastiest little survival tricks of the Pacific War. Not with a blueprint, not with official approval, and definitely not with anything that looked impressive. He started with a piece of wire so stupid that other mechanics laughed when they saw it in his hand. But before this story was over, that stupid wire trick would help create a crash escape method so deadly, so deceptive, and so effective that it turned a downed pilot's first few seconds on the ground into the difference between capture and survival. Eddie Raines was not a pilot. He didn't get kill marks painted under a cockpit. He didn't come back from missions with stories that made other men lean in and listen. He was one of the forgotten men of the Pacific Air War. The mechanics who lived in heat, mud, oil, and exhaustion, keeping P-38 Lightnings alive, one repair at a time. His war was fought with burned hands, split knuckles, coolant leaks, cracked lines, bent panels, and engines that always seemed one mission away from quitting. But mechanics see something pilots don't. Pilots experience the airplane in motion. Mechanics experience it broken. And broken machines tell the truth faster than anyone else in war. That truth, in New Guinea, was ugly. The P-38 was a magnificent fighter in the sky. Fast, deadly, long-ranged, twin-engined, and feared. On the ground, after combat, it was something else. Warped metal, stressed rails, damaged latches, cracked fittings, scorched wiring, and cockpit hardware that did not always behave the way manuals promised. And Eddie Raines had just watched one of those failures nearly kill a man who should have lived. That was why, a week later, when he spotted a length of stiff scrap wire lying in the mud beside a maintenance crate, he stopped walking. Other men saw trash. Raines saw a question. Could a pilot force open a jammed canopy with pressure from the wrong angle? Could something small, ugly, and pocket-sized do what the official release sometimes couldn't? Sergeant Doyle saw him pick up the wire and laughed. "What now?" Doyle called. "You planning to repair a fighter with junk?" A few men nearby grinned. Raines turned the wire between his fingers, studying its flex, its stiffness, the way it held shape when bent. Then he slipped it into his pocket. "Maybe," he said. That answer got another laugh. Because on a wartime airstrip, every life-saving idea sounds ridiculous right before it proves people wrong. Raines didn't test it on a clean aircraft. Clean aircraft lied. They opened the way manuals said they should, moved the way engineers expected, and gave men a false kind of confidence. If he wanted the truth, he needed damaged hardware, the kind that trapped pilots when things went wrong fast. So that evening, after the last maintenance rush had thinned and the strip had settled into its usual wet, exhausted rhythm, he dragged a bent canopy section out of salvage and propped it against a crate. Cracked frame, dirty rail, twisted latch. Perfect. Sergeant Doyle wandered over again, still grinning. "You're serious?" Rains fed the wire through a narrow gap near the mechanism and said nothing. The idea was simple enough to sound stupid. If the normal release pulled one way and a damaged canopy jammed because it no longer wanted to move that way, then maybe the answer wasn't more force. Maybe it was a different angle, a twist, a drag, a sharp little pull from the wrong direction. He looped the wire, braced one knee against the frame, and pulled. Nothing. Doyle laughed immediately. "There's your miracle." Reynes reset the bind, changed the angle, and tried again. This time the canopy jerked. Not open, just enough to make his eyes narrow. That was all he needed. He jammed it harder, tightened the loop, and pulled again. Harder now, twisting across the frame instead of fighting it straight on. The latch snapped loose with a metallic kick. The canopy shifted open. Doyle stopped smiling. Rains tested it again. More pressure. Dirt in the rail. Worse angle. Again the wire. Again the twist. Again the ugly little snap as the jam broke. Not every time. Not perfectly. But enough. Enough to matter. Doyle stared at the wire in Rains's hand like it had just insulted him. "That thing?" Rains nodded. "It looks ridiculous." "Good," Rains said. "It'll fit in a pocket." That was the moment the idea stopped being a joke. Not out officially. Not out loud. Men on airstrips rarely admit a stupid-looking trick might save their lives until after it already has. But the laughter around it changed. It got quieter, more careful, because now they had all seen the same thing. A bent piece of scrap wire doing what a damaged release handle couldn't. And once that thought existed, it spread, not through orders, through pilots. Quietly, one flyer asked what it weighed. Another asked if it could be carried in a flight pocket. A third pretended he was only curious, then asked Rains to make him one anyway. Nobody wanted to sound afraid. That was the rule. So they joked while taking it. That was another rule. By the end of the week, more than one P-38 pilot was climbing into the cockpit with Reynes's stupid little wire tucked somewhere close to his hand. But Rains had already moved past the wire, because opening the canopy was only the first half of surviving a crash. The second half began the second your boots hit the ground. A wreck smoked. A wreck burned. A wreck called attention to itself. And a frightened pilot running from it would leave the kind of trail any enemy patrol could read. That was the next thought that began growing in Rains's head. Not just how to get a man out, how to keep him alive after. Late that night, on the back of a dirty parts form, he sketched the ground around a crash instead of the aircraft itself. Impact point, fuel spill, fire line, likely search path, obvious direction of escape. Then he stared at the drawing and slowly realized something that made the whole idea darker. A downed pilot should not escape the way men expect him to escape. He should disappear wrong. That was when the stupid wire stopped being just a mechanic's trick. It became the first piece of something meaner. Something smarter. Something built not just to beat a jammed canopy, but to beat the men who came hunting after it. And somewhere out beyond the New Guinea Strip, the Pacific War was already preparing the first real test. Because sooner or later, one of those pilots was going to need the wire for real. And when that happened, Eddie Reynes's stupid little trick would stop sounding stupid forever. The first real test of the wire came sooner than Eddie Rains expected. It happened at dusk, after a rough mission north of the coast, when a P-38 came limping back low over the trees with its right boom scarred by fire and the nose full of holes. Men on the strip looked up the way they always did when an airplane sounded wrong. Not curious, measuring. The lightning crossed the airfield once too fast. Came around again, lower this time, wobbling slightly, one engine coughing unevenly. Then it hit hard. The landing gear folded. The fighter skidded sideways in a spray of mud, sparks and shredded metal before spinning to a stop near the edge of the strip. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then everyone did. Rains was already running before the aircraft settled. Smoke rolled out fast. Not heavy fire yet, but enough. Enough to make every second count. As he reached the cockpit, The pilot shoved the canopy release and slammed his shoulder upward. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. The frame had twisted in the landing, exactly the way Rains had feared it would. The pilot looked up, saw Rains through the clouding perspex, and for one terrible second both men understood the same thing. There would not be time for tools. Rains shouted through the canopy, "The wire! Use the wire!" The pilot froze, then his hand went to his pocket. For half a second, Rains thought the man either wouldn't find it or wouldn't remember how to use it. That was the weakness of every emergency trick in war. It wasn't enough for it to work in practice. It had to work in panic. Inside the cockpit, the pilot yanked out the little loop of bent wire with fingers already shaking. Rains pointed to the edge of the jammed frame, shouting the motion, not the explanation. "Hook it, twist, pull across." The pilot fed the wire into the gap, braced himself, and pulled the wrong way. That was the genius of it, a worse angle on purpose. The canopy kicked loose so suddenly the pilot nearly fell backward out of the seat. He hit the wing root, slid down hard into the mud, and rolled clear just as flames licked up behind the cockpit. The men around them stared at the burning P-38, then at the stupid little wire in the pilot's hand. No one laughed, not anymore. That night, Rains should have felt satisfied. He had been right. A pocket-sized trick everyone mocked had just pulled a man out of a jammed cockpit before fire got him. But instead of relief, he felt the old unease again. Because once the pilot caught his breath, he said something Rains couldn't stop thinking about. "If that happened in the jungle," the pilot muttered, still coughing, "I'd still be dead." Rains looked at him. "You got out." The pilot shook his head. "Yeah," he said, "out of the airplane. Then what? That was the question." Always the same question. A pilot crashes behind enemy lines. He escapes the cockpit. The wreck starts smoking. Patrols move toward the impact. He runs because every living thing runs from fire. And the moment he runs straight, he tells the enemy exactly where to look. That was when the second half of the trick finally became clear. Escape wasn't one action. It was two. Get out fast. Then make the search go the wrong way. Rains went back to the workbench and started sketching again, this time with more certainty. Crash site, smoke column, likely Japanese approach, obvious line of flight. Then the lie? A false break in the brush, a visible first trail, a fast turn away from it, not distance first, deception first. That was the part men missed when panic took over. They thought survival meant speed. Sometimes it did. But in jungle country, speed without deception just carried the enemy to you faster. Sergeant Doyle watched Rains drawing arrows through the paper and said, "You're doing it again." Doing what? Thinking like the guy hunting him. Rains didn't look up. Exactly. Over the next few days, the wire spread quietly through the squadron, but so did something else. Rains's instructions. Short, ugly, memorable. If you go down and get out alive, don't run like a frightened man. Make them think you did. Break one direction. Leave sign. Then cut away before the trail settles. Use the wreck to lie for you. It sounded strange, maybe even crazier than the wire had sounded. But war had a way of making strange ideas look intelligent very quickly, especially when ordinary behavior got men captured. And somewhere beyond the strip, beyond the revetments and engine noise and wet New Guinea heat, another P-38 was already heading toward the kind of crash where getting out would only be the beginning. Because Eddie Rains hadn't just found a way to open a jammed canopy, he had started inventing something colder than that. A method for surviving the first minute after disaster, by tricking the enemy into hunting a ghost. The first time Eddie Rains's full escape idea got used in combat, he wasn't there to see it. He only heard about it 2 days later, when Lieutenant Mercer came back looking like a man who had survived something he still hadn't fully understood. The P-38 had gone down west of the Sepik after a low-level strike. Ground fire came up hard from the tree line, caught Mercer's aircraft under the cockpit, and knocked out more than instruments. One side of the canopy rail had warped on impact. The landing itself was half controlled, half prayer, hard enough to tear the belly, throw mud over the nose, and leave the fighter smoking in a swamp clearing that was barely a clearing at all. Mercer survived the crash. For about 5 seconds that looked like good news. Then he reached for the canopy release, and the handle gave him exactly what Rains had always feared: movement without escape. The latch shifted. The frame didn't. The canopy had jammed just enough to turn a living cockpit into a trap. Mercer later said the strangest part wasn't fear. It was recognition, because the moment it happened, he knew exactly what it was. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the ugly little wire loop, shoved it into the gap near the frame, and twisted across the bind the way Rains had shown him. The canopy snapped loose, just like that. Not cleanly, not gracefully, but enough. Mercer shoved out of the cockpit, hit the mud shoulder first, and rolled away as smoke began to thicken behind him. That should have been the end of the story. Pilot crashes, pilot escapes, pilot runs, but Rains had taught him not to run like a normal man. That was the real trick. Mercer could already hear voices in the distance. Japanese troops, maybe a patrol, maybe men drawn by the crash. Either way, they'd come to the wreck first, and once they reached it, they'd expect one thing: a frightened pilot fleeing straight away from the airplane. So Mercer gave them exactly what they expected. For 10 yards, he crashed through brush hard enough to leave sign, broken stems, heavy prints, a messy, obvious line running east from the wreck. Then he cut sharply into standing water, doubled back through reeds, and slipped north through a belt of wet jungle where the ground held almost nothing. It was a cruel little idea. That was why it worked. When the Japanese reached the crash, they found the false trail quickly: burned aircraft, fresh tracks, broken brush, panic written clearly in the vegetation. They followed it. Fast. That was their mistake. Mercer, meanwhile, was already moving the other way, low and slow, using mud, water, and shadow, the way Rains had imagined a downed pilot should. No straight line, no desperate sprint, no obvious second trail, just enough distance to survive the first sweep, then enough patience not to betray himself by moving like prey. He later said he could hear them for nearly 20 minutes, men crashing through the brush to the east, shouting, searching, closing in on a version of him that no longer existed. By the time they realized the trail had gone dead, Mercer was gone. Not far, just gone enough. That was the genius of Rains's escape method. It didn't require a man to outrun a patrol. It only required him to make the patrol waste its first burst of urgency on the wrong direction. In jungle country, those first few minutes mattered more than distance. Men tracked heat, noise, panic, and assumption. Rains had found a way to poison all four. Mercer hid through the night, moved at dawn, and made it back to Allied lines the next day with leech bites, swamp mud, and one bent wire loop still in his pocket. When he reached the strip and gave the story, the mechanics listened in total silence. Even Doyle. Especially Doyle, because now the stupid wire trick was no longer a funny little field fix mechanics joked about over wet coffee and ruined sleep. It had done exactly what Rains had believed it could do. First, it got a pilot out of a jammed cockpit. Then, the second half of the method got that same pilot away from the wreck before the enemy understood what had happened. That was the real invention, not the wire by itself, not the false trail by itself. The combination: escape the machine, then weaponize expectation. By the following week, more pilots were asking for the wire loops, and more importantly, they were asking for the rest of the instructions too. If you go down, don't flee honestly. Lie first. Then vanish. Rains never became famous for it. That was never likely. Mechanics almost never became legends the same way pilots did. They worked in the shadow of the machine, and the best of their ideas often disappeared into other men's survival stories. But on that strip in New Guinea, among men who knew exactly how close a cockpit could come to becoming a coffin, the respect changed. No one laughed when he bent wire anymore, and no one called the trick stupid after Mercer came back alive, because in war the deadliest ideas are often the smallest ones, not the loudest, not the prettiest, not the ones born in briefing rooms. A bent wire in a pocket, a false trail in wet ground, a mechanic who understood that surviving a crash was not one action but two. And that was how Eddie Rains helped invent one of the nastiest little escape methods of the Pacific Air War. A trick that opened a jammed P-38 canopy, then sent the enemy chasing a ghost. Eddie Rains's invention was deadly because it solved both halves of the problem. The wire got a trapped pilot out of a jammed cockpit. The false trail got the enemy looking the wrong way. And in war, those few stolen minutes were often the difference between capture, fire, and survival.